you, didn't I? The world can be a frightening place, especially for a child. Tonight's story is about a young boy who has trouble sleeping due to a haunting presence in his room. It hits all the spooky notes, with a climax so terrifying well, okay. Perhaps I'm exaggerating a little bit. Still, you're in for one hell of a ride. So stick around, lock those doors, and turn out the lights. Oh, and by the way, you're about to enter Fear Street, where nightmares come alive.
I've always been a night owl. I guess that's why when I was younger, actually pretty much my entire childhood, I was always the last person to fall asleep in my family. I absolutely dreaded bedtime because of this, and as a result, every night was an exercise in bravery. Not only because it was so dark and eerily quiet as I lay in bed, but because of what I experienced on an almost nightly basis. It always started a few minutes after everyone else was sleeping. I would feel a terrifying presence in the darkness that made the hairs on my body stand on end. Then I'd hear the faint sound of movement, sometimes in the distance, others right there in my room. And finally, I'd see a shadow or silhouette of a man standing in my doorway. He was tall and slender in appearance, and he would let out a quiet chuckle that sent shivers up my spine and chills through my entire body. I would always react in the same way, by pulling the covers up over my head. Then I would hear only silence. When I finally felt brave enough, I would look out, only to see him standing over me. I still couldn't make out any details in his appearance, only a dark silhouette. That's when he would laugh again, with a laugh that concealed horrible intentions. I would immediately retreat back under the covers, heart racing like I had just run a marathon, struggling to draw breath into my still developing lungs due to the lack of air under there. I didn't always see him when I looked out, though I knew he was there. One time, I didn't see him when I came out of the covers, but I still felt that horrifying presence. I scanned my room and nearly died of shock when I saw him standing right behind me, breathing heavily. I let out a high-pitched shriek and yanked the covers over my head. I called for my mom, but she didn't hear me. I was on my own, shaking like a leaf, until finally, somehow, I fell asleep. He didn't only haunt me in my room though. Sometimes, he'd appear in my dreams, seemingly out of nowhere. It was as if he somehow hacked into my subconscious against my wishes. It was always dark, and I could never turn on any lights. If I tried to turn on a light, it wouldn't work, or the fuse would immediately blow. This made getting a good look at him impossible, and only added to the terror I was experiencing. All I could do was run, and barely that. I've always been fast in my waking life, but in these dreams it was like I was running in slow motion. I would try with all of my might to run faster, but it never worked. All of this made me sure he'd catch me and do God knows what. But thankfully he never did. He'd always be right on my heels, just walking towards me, laughing. These seemingly near-death experiences happened throughout my entire childhood, and were the reason I hated sleep. They mysteriously stopped when I was around 18 though, and although I don't know why, I'm just grateful they did. Sometimes though, when I'm sleeping alone, I still feel an evil presence. I break out in a cold sweat, my hair stands on end, and I get a shiver up my spine. This serves as a constant reminder, never letting me forget those endless nights of torture that I endured as a child. I never did figure out who that guy was, though I've been told it may have been a shadow person. Whatever it was, I just hope I never see it again.
Boo. The world, I mean...